Welcome, rock and metal fans. Coming to you from the barns of Amish country and pastures of cows are those two headbanging bad boys of rock and metal. Nikki Lane and Mark B1 Bomb. Nikki Lane and Mark B1 Bomb. Bringing you every Saturday night the best rock and metal bands from the 80s and 90s and today. Playing music from the night's featured bands and discussing the bands and their music with special guests, interviews, contests, Q&A, and much more. So grab a beer and turn it up. It's time for the Headbangers Vault.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Headbangers Vault. This is Nikki Lane, and right here beside me is Mark
B1 Bomb.
The Bomb B1.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Well, here we are. We finally made it. Our first episode.
Pilot episode at the Garage of Destiny here.
This has been a long time in the making. Anyway, this is Headbangers Vault, and we are a podcast that talks about
hard rock, metal, all the music we loved growing up, we still love today. We try to keep it all in the rock, hard rock, and metal vein. So we'll have different shows every week. We'll be discussing all kinds of different subjects, objects, you name it. Feel free to call in. Feel free to text us, email us, Facebook us, whatever. We're here to listen.
So, anyway, we
came up with our first pilot show. We came up with our first 5 favorite hard rock metal albums of the 1980s. So these are albums that are near and dear to our hearts, are kind of tied to our history growing up. They're just some special albums we picked out to share. So without further ado, my 5th album that I really enjoyed is called Badlands, self-titled album. Jakey Lee formed this band. He's a former guitarist for Ozzy. Formed a group of guys, real good musicians. They came out with 3 albums. The first one, they had, what was it? Voodoo Highway. They had a B-side rarity called Dusk, but I'm thinking this was probably my favorite one. I picked it up at a flea market one time, and I just fell in love with it. It's got a lot of good songs. They kind of got a bluesy edge to them a little bit. They had a lot of good songs. Some that stand out: Dreams in the Dark, Winter's Call. I'd probably say my favorite song would be this one right here, Dancing on the Edge. I like pretty much all these songs on here. They flow really well. These guys are really good.
I know, like, when you introduced me to them just the other night, I went and checked them out, and I really like them. And then I was really impressed with the fact that they used to, my golly, I can't talk now. But the drummer is
Eric Singer.
Eric Singer is the
drummer for Kiss.
Drummer.
Yeah, he played on the first album. He was replaced by Jeff Martin on the second album. Sadly, their singer died in the mid-90s. Kind of a fun fact, their bass player, Greg Chasson, he had a solo album. It was called It's About Time. It was a really hard rock and blues album, and he also went on to join the Christian hard rock band Die Happy. Check them out. They have some really good albums out, and his bass playing definitely stands out. I really, really enjoy these guys. So, they had a few videos on MTV. I think on this one they did Dreams in the Dark, Winter's Call. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff. So definitely check them out if you get a chance.
I'm definitely going to listen to them more, that's for sure. I really like, definitely have that 80s vibe that I like.
Definitely. They stood out a little bit from some of the other hair band hard rock stuff too. So yeah, enjoy.
we definitely have to give them kudos for sure. I wish I'd known about them a long time ago.
So what's your fifth favorite album there, Lane?
Well, my fifth album comes from an American rock and roll band formed in 1983 in Sayreville, New Jersey. In 1984 and 1985, they released their first two albums, and their debut single, Runaway, managed to crack the top 40 in 1986, the band achieved widespread success and global recognition with their third album, Slippery When Wet, which sold over 20 million copies and included their top 10 singles, two of which reached number one, You Give Love a Bad Name, and Living on a Prayer. That would be Bon Jovi.
Yeah, these songs, you hear them all the time. I mean, I like this album, but I kind of like their first one the best. I don't know why. It was really good. They had their album, was it New Jersey that came out after this? I almost like that.
New Jersey's a great album.
Yeah, I almost
too.
like it better
Definitely.
than this one. Yeah. They had was it Living on a Prayer? What was the one hit single for this album? I mean, what was their first hit single?
It was Living on a Prayer.
Was it?
That was their first hit single, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought my favorite on this album is probably Wanted Dead or Alive, but I've heard these songs so many times I can hardly listen to them anymore.
That was my favorite movie, Young Guns, too, back in the day. You know.
Yeah, with John Bon Jovi did that one solo album.
Yeah, because I grew up on a small horse ranch, and I always thought myself a cowboy. So, yeah, I dug it.
Yeah, and for here's a little trivia here for their Japanese cover. They had a wet T-shirt woman on the cover of it, and it got rejected for the American release. So
Guns N' Roses had an album that got yacked too,
and many others too. Back in the 80s, it was and some ways conservative when it came to album covers and things like that. But yeah, I'd say Bon Jovi, they still get a lot of love for a lot of people. So
I'll definitely take them any day. I mean, I like John Bon Jovi, so I don't think most of the stuff he touches doesn't go wrong.
Yeah, I seen these guys in concert in around 2000, and it was kind of like Bon Jovi 2.0. They had a lot less energy. It was a little bit more mid-tempo. I really wish I would have seen them back in the 80s, but they were still good, don't get me wrong, but they weren't what they used to be. But
I'm not what I used to be either.
we all aren't when we get to be about in our 40s, so just a hint, kids. So, moving along here, my fourth favorite album is White Snake, or as in they called it in Japan, White Snake 1987. This whole album had songs from the beginning to end, just flowed. I mean, Bad Boy, Still the Night. So many good songs. I mean, this album was a monster, and I think what was it? Number one song in the United States was "Here I Go Again." MTV played the crap out of these videos, so they're pretty outlandish. So
God bless MTV.
now,
God bless Headbangers Ball.
Now, actually, "Here I Go Again" was originally on their 1982 album "Saints or Sinners," and you probably don't want to listen to that because it's not real good, folks. But excuse me. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album. I guess David Coverdale got sick after the recording of this, and they kind of folded for a while. And when they came back, they had all new musicians, which sucked because John Sykes was an awesome guitar player, and I thought they would have sounded really good with him still playing in the band. But they brought in Adrian Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell, which later went to Def Leppard. So, it would have been a good tour to see back in the day.
Vivian Campbell's awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, he hired some top-notch musicians, and, yeah, this is a really good album. I mean, it actually had 2 extra tracks that weren't released till years later on their greatest hits, which were really good, too. And, they did "Here I Go Again" as a radio edit later on, which had different musicians, and it sounded a lot different. But so I believe 3 different Here I Go Again versions. So just, check them out. But
you can't beat the first. Yeah. No, I mean,
yeah, that is a good one. So it's everybody knows pretty much all these songs on this album. Go listen to it. If you haven't heard of Whitesnake, I'd also recommend their next one, Slip of the Tongue. It had Steve Vai playing guitar on it and Adrian Vandenberg. It's probably almost as good. There's a little bit of cheese on it, but I'd say this one a little better, but, check them both out. They're probably the pinnacle of Whitesnake there.
You can't go wrong because the 80s are making a comeback right now, so you can't feel bad for listening to it.
Yeah, so
especially the younger generation.
Yeah, don't feel ashamed, folks.
It's good stuff.
Okay, Lane, what's your next album here?
Well, speaking of Vivian Campbell, this my next band, number 4 here, is a English rock band formed in 1977 in Sheffield, England. They established themselves as part of the new wave British heavy metal movement. The band's greatest commercial success came between the early 1980s and the early 1990s. This is Def Leppard.
What more can we say?
Def Leppard is
wonderful album
by Hysteria. By the way,
you
didn't
got ahead
know
of
my
myself.
album. You said
I already knew it. I knew it. So.
Bleep. Anyway, so Hysteria is by far the best album in my book, anyway. And of course, the favorite song of this wonderful band is none other than the stripper song, Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Yeah, which actually they use this song at strip clubs, and it actually
popularity.
This album was kind of tanking in the United States, and this song started playing in strip joints, and it got super mega popular, and this album just shot up. So,
and I'm glad it did, because in my day, can't blame them. Strippers are kind of cool. Not so much anymore, but
yeah, this album actually charted number 1 on the Billboard 2000 or 200. Sorry.
Yes.
It's got monster hits on it through and through.
Def Leppard is just one of those all-around great bands, and
Definitely.
they've had the longest member lineup in history.
Yeah,
they've maintained the same band members,
except for Steve Clark, who passed away.
Well, yeah, Steve Clark passed away, but for the most part, they have the longest running lineup.
Yeah, and as we're talking about this is also my 3rd favorite album, believe it or not, would be Hysteria. So I liked all the songs on this album. Even there was 3 or 4 songs that didn't make the radio, but those are monster songs too.
Again, they made themselves to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're a well-rounded band. If you don't like Def Leppard, you're not really listening to good music.
True. And I had to say, this is if I had to pick, I would probably say this would be my favorite song on this album, but I love almost all of them. I don't like Love Bites, so that is the only song I don't like on this album. I never liked it. I never will. But other than that...
Yeah, it's because you got bit by love.
Oh yeah, I have many times.
So we
won't disclose much more on that. But
yeah, this is a great song, too.
But yeah, when I hear this in the vehicle of my car, I still crank the sucker up pretty loud. So yeah, this...
There's not too many songs that I don't crank up when it comes to Def Leppard.
Now, in the United States, Women was the first single that was released, and everywhere else it was Animal.
Yeah.
So, but when Pour Some Sugar on Me came out, wow, that just broke these guys so big in America. I like Pyromania, was just about as good as this one, but this album has such a cool supersonic sound to it. I think they did that on purpose in the studios too. Yeah,
they had one of the greatest recording. Mutt Lange.
Yeah, he put him through the ringer from what we saw on documentaries.
Yeah, Mutt Lange was awesome.
But yeah, and And they also had a B-sides kind of thing that came out a few years later called Retroactive, and it had a song on there that I thought should have been on this album. It was called The Desert Song. I'll let you folks listen to this here, just a few. But yeah, I thought this song, there was a song called Fractured Love that, you know, but I mean, it was Hysteria, so, you know, I guess they had to leave off some cuts, but yeah, this song was really good. So if you guys like Hysteria, definitely check out Retroactive because it's got some real cool left out songs on it.
I just couldn't live without Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Really couldn't.
Yeah, I seen him. We waited out in the pouring rain to see him back in the early 90s for a whole hour before we got into the concert.
It was actually 1990.
It was 92. No, it was 92. Yeah, right when we graduated from high school. I think it was during their Adrenalize album.
Yep.
So, which that was kind of good, not so good. So it's.
I liked Adrenalize.
Yeah. I liked some of it. Some of it I didn't like.
I definitely liked it.
You know, but we could probably talk for hours about this album, but we're going to have to move on. So Lane, what's your next favorite here?
Well, I'm just going to cut to the chase here. This is my number 3 is Twisted Sister. These guys are just, they're out there. I love them.
Great band.
Yeah, I remember. I remember being at Boy Scouts, and we was at some camp or something, and we were around the campfire, and all of a sudden this song started playing, and I was immediately in love. And then I went back back to school, and I was like, "Hey, you guys heard Twisted Sister?" And you were like, "Oh, you idiot! You know, we've been listening to that for a week or so, or 2 weeks, or whatever it is, you know." And so, yeah. I love Twisted Sister. I love Dean Snyder.
Yeah. What was your pick on this album? Which one did you really like?
Does that have to be said? I mean, it's Stay Hungry. We're not going to take it. I mean,
yeah, we all know this song. I'd have to say my favorite, and still to this day, is The Price. That to me, in fact, that's my all-time most favorite Twisted Sister album. I got into these guys when I was younger. This is one of my second hard rock album I ever bought, and I listened to the crap out of it. And I struggled with this one with being my number 5 pick. I mean, I almost put that as my number 5. I mean, there are a few songs that are kind of lackluster on this album, maybe one or two, but for the most part, this album shines. So, but The Price, folks, that is the best song, The Price.
Have you ever heard their Christmas album?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
great.
I love their Christmas album.
That's probably one of the best Christmas albums ever.
Yeah, you got to listen to that. If you've never heard it, you go find it, you know, and listen to it. It's great.
Now, I got to see these guys in concert in I think it was in the mid-2000s, and I seen them, and they performed this whole album in its entirety with all the makeup and wild clothes, and it was awesome. That was one of probably my top 5, top 10 favorite concerts I've ever seen. I mean, these guys are incredible.
They had some of the greatest videos too.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they had a few. I mean, their earlier albums were good. You know, their last album, Love Is for Suckers, it kind of sucked. It had maybe 2 good songs on it, but you know, don't listen to that album, please. It'll ruin our Twisted Sister nostalgia.
But yeah, this is a great song.
So yeah, these guys will always have a place in my heart, that's for sure. So yeah, we love you, Twisted Sister.
Love you, man. Love you, Dean.
Okay, folks, for my number 2 favorite album has to be Iron Maiden, Power Slave.
Iron Maiden rocks.
Yeah, this is a monster of an album all the way through, from Aces High all the way to like Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It's got an awesome instrumental called Lost for Words. I mean, what more can you say about that? When you hear the opening, you're hooked. You're hooked.
Yeah.
Aces High. This is a wonderful song here, folks. I mean,
now I got a little story about about Iron Maiden too. I was introduced by Iron Maiden by our mutual friend Bones, and I was over at his house one day, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta hear this, man."
Yeah, he brought that over to my house too, and let me listen to these guys.
Yeah, he's like, "You gotta hear this." He goes, "I will give you every cassette in my collection if you can understand a single word they're saying."
Oh,
And he was playing Aces High.
yeah.
And that's how I got introduced to Iron Maiden, and I've loved them ever since.
Thanks, Bones, for hooking us up with Iron Maiden. We'll never forget it.
Yeah, won't forget that.
But yeah, this album really brought out Iron Maiden, got them big here in the States. I mean, I guess it was ranked 38th on Rolling Stone's 100 Greatest Metal Albums of All Time, so that's saying something. So,
But anytime you get your name mentioned in the Rolling Stones, it's saying a lot.
So, I mean, yeah, the artwork was real cool on this album. It's kind of an Egyptian kind of vibe. A lot of songs kind of have that Egyptian type of vibe. So, it's especially the song Power Slave. So, I would have loved to seen these guys on tour back then. I mean, I was too little to go see them then, but it would have been awesome. I've seen live concert videos of them, and the stage was awesome.
They have the best cover art.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, their cover art is awesome.
Yeah,
Hail Eddie.
Yeah,
we love Eddie.
These earlier album artwork covers were so cool. I mean, just go back and check some of them out. But I mean, yeah, just listen to these leads and these incredible. The bass playing by Steve Harris, awesome. So
yeah, you're not ever going to go wrong with Iron Maiden.
Go back. I mean, the leads incredible. What more can we say?
Just can't go wrong with Iron Maiden.
So
This brings back a lot of memories, man. A lot of memories. So,
all right, moving along
memories, here you go. Because I know that this next group of mine, my number 2, was a group that I annoyed you guys with.
All the time.
Drove you crazy, could not stop playing them. And they're known with another band to be one of the most notorious bands in rock, heavy metal. It's Guns N' Roses. Good old Axl Rose. And I don't know, I seen a video, I think it's on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Axl Rose in years, okay, because I've kind of, when he went off the deep end, kind of lost a little faith in him and kind of shied away from him, and but I seen Axl Rose. Wow.
He got no big lately.
I wouldn't even recognized him as Axl Rose, to be honest. I wouldn't, but anyway, so, of course, my favorite album would be Appetite for Destruction. And, of course,
what's your favorite song?
Well, Paradise City, of course. There is another stripper song, right. Thanks, rock goddess Leslie, for pointing that out.
They a lot. Excuse me. Yeah, they had a lot of songs on this album that were played on the radio. Probably about all of them. I've kind of gotten sick of this album. Sorry, Axl, but I kind of would rather go to Lies or use your own. Well,
use your illusions.
Go ahead. Yeah, one or two. Sorry.
Use your illusions.
Tongue tied there, folks. But yeah, these songs still bring back a lot of memories, like they should with a lot of people growing back in the 80s.
Paradise City absolutely was not the only great song they had on this album. You had, Mr. Brownstone, Welcome to the Jungle.
Rocket Queen, baby.
Rocket Queen, yeah. I mean, this was a pretty all-out, well-rounded album.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then if you've ever been to a concert, of course, Axl always had a bad habit of
being late. Yeah, just ask Metallica about that one.
Yeah, it caused a huge riot.
Yeah, they went on tour together in 91, 92, and I think it caused a big implosion, and it all fell apart.
Yeah, we was in Indy.
Yeah,
yeah. When I was with actually George Ballard and those guys, when that happened, that was wow.
Yeah. I wish I could have seen that. I missed that one.
Man,
probably had to go to work that day.
Crazy.
Yeah, missed out on that one. But.
Yeah, that was one you definitely missed out on.
But yeah, well, hopefully we'll hear some new music from these guys someday. But
I don't know. I don't know if you ever hear some new music from them, but I think they're going to be getting back up on stage here a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. I know Slash is still playing with him too.
Slash is still grinding that guitar, man.
So yeah, we'll see what happens for these guys in the future.
I have to think the Slash is one of the best guitar players out there.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of good solo albums too.
Yeah,
with Miles Kennedy from when was it? I think he was a singer. He was in another band, Alter Bridge too. They've kind of had their own thing going. But yeah, check out his solo stuff. It's really good.
Right? Yeah, I love Slash.
So anyways, moving along here, my number one album of all time has got to be, we're going back to the Iron Maiden wheelhouse again, folks, is Somewhere in Time.
Somewhere in Time.
Definitely my all-time favorite album. It rocks all the way through, from Caught Somewhere in Time all the way to, what's the last song on that album? I believe it's Alexander the Great. So it's definitely got kind of a futuristic vibe going on with it. I mean, I can't say enough. This album brings back my childhood. I mean, just listen to this intro right here to Caught Somewhere in Time. This hooked me right here, folks.
Yeah,
here.
This was actually a great tune. I mean, I love the beginning of this song. It's again a great album, and the cover art shows that it's in a futuristic time period.
I mean, I'd have to say I like every song on this album is my favorite song. I can't say any one is my favorite. They're all my favorite. I mean, I like Caught Somewhere in Time, Loneliness, A Long Distant Runner. I mean, it's just Heaven Can Wait. The cover art is just gorgeous on this too. I mean, there's so much going on in this album cover. You could stare at it for days.
Eddie takes many forms.
He does on every album.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Eddie.
Yeah, this was kind of a Blade Runner type of cover.
Yes,
if you know that movie.
That's a good way to describe it.
So
that's awesome. Call me an idiot, but I have a question.
Yeah.
They make a lot of reference, especially in some of their older albums, about Native Americans.
Yeah.
Do they have Native American heritage?
No, I think they're all British. I think they just like to write about different topics, and a lot of stuff seemed to be stuff from American culture and history too, I've noticed. So they were good songwriters on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of people back in, when Iron Maiden was just coming out there, a lot of people were like, there's horrible music and they're freaky, but they were very talented.
I like these guys all the way up to like about Fear of the Dark. Then after that, the 90s took over and they kind of went towards a different path, unfortunately, but I'll still relive their good ones in the 80s. I mean, you got this. I believe this is their first album that they used guitar synthesizers, which I think sounded really cool.
Which gives it that futuristic
definitely
kick. Yeah, absolutely.
And as a little trivia, they had a B-side song called Reach Out that their guitar player Adrian Smith sang, which sounded really good too. I mean, check it out on YouTube. It's not as good as Bruce singing, but it is very good. So
be sure to check that out.
Yeah, Somewhere in Time, folks. You ain't gonna go wrong with this album. So
I've been stuck somewhere in time.
Anyways, we'll leave it at that. So what's your number one, Lane?
Well, my number one is a group that's been well known. They were part of the start of the glam era of rock and metal. They're also known as one of the most notorious bands in rock history. They've had a great history. However, they've had a lot of tragedy in their time. But it's Motley Crue. Motley Crue, baby. You can't go with Motley Crue. They were kind of the beginning.
Yeah, they were kind of started the hair metal kind of sound back in the early 80s.
The members have often been noted for their
Wild Annex.
Wild and dangerous personas. So, I mean, it's kind of the way we lived back then, We kind of had that rebellious...
We were pretty rebellious. It was kind of a soundtrack to some of our youth a little bit.
Yeah. With kind of role models, actually.
Cruising around, playing their music, jamming it. Yeah, it was...
But Nikki Sixx is one of... I mean, there's other great songwriters, but Nikki Sixx is a great songwriter. I love each and every one of these guys. I love Nikki Sixx. I love Tommy Lee. I love Mick Mars. And who am I leaving out? Oh, Vince Neil.
Yeah.
Their front man. But
he's a little different these days, but
well, he's not fared as well as the rest of the group, I mean,
let's hope he gets in shape here soon
before he goes back out on tour.
Yeah.
But Nikki Sixx is 60 years old.
Yeah, they've been around a long time.
I just saw him in a real recent interview, and I mean, he still looks good.
So, what album did you pick as your favorite out of all their?
Oh boy, this was a hard pick for me.
Because they got some good ones through the years.
But I had to go with the Dr. Feelgood album. Their number one hit album, their only number one hit album.
That broke them big. I mean, that was their monster album that really got them up there in the charts.
Shout at the Devil, Girls, Girls, Girls. I mean, those all are great albums. But, Dr. Feelgood, it was just the right time in my life. And that album brought a little bit of something out of me there. And, of course, at the time Dr. Feelgood come out, I was in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I wasn't even around here.
Yeah.
So,
did you have what was your pick on their favorite song? I can probably guess.
What is it?
I would bet it'd be this song right here. Who could forget this song?
And you are correct.
Who would forget that song?
How would you know?
Because I programmed it in here, folks.
But yeah, this is a great song. It definitely, if you know a little bit about the history of Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx, they wrote this song is about Nikki Sixx heroin overdose and how he's revived by a paramedic that is a Motley Crue fan, and I happen to be a medic, so I'm kind of feeling it, digging it,
Sure.
So, this is a great track. That motorcycle at the beginning, because I have history with motorcycles, so that just
I think
I hate to say it, but it kind of gives me a chubby.
I'd say my favorite song on this album, or songs, I really like Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away, and I really love their ballad Time for Change. I mean, I like this one too, but I remember jamming this out in my first car, my Monte Carlo, this cassette.
The
cherry pie.
The cherry pie, the red Monte Carlo. Pie,
so this I remember buying this cassette when I was a young lad. So that had some pretty good tunes on it. Now after this, Motley Crue didn't fare too well.
No, they slipped bad.
Yeah, they got a different singer, John Corabi.
Mm-hmm.
Now that album's actually pretty good. It's a little different, but it had some pretty good rockers on it. So I have to give plugs to that one too. I mean, for me, that was their last good album.
A lot of critics claim that John Corabi was a little better singer than Vince
and
Neil.
He played guitar too.
Yeah, and he played guitar. Now, I love Vince, and he's always going to be a Crewster. But, like they say, a lot of critics have claimed that Corabi was just a little better singer than Neil. But, Crue fans didn't want that change, so.
Yeah, well, I guess it all worked out for them. I mean, they tried to retire back a few years ago, and we know how that ended up.
Well, they're back on the tour.
Yeah.
And I'm going to that concert.
For Def Leppard, Joan Jett, and Poison.
Poison. So. I got my Poison shirt on right now.
So if you got enough money, folks, and you try to find a ticket, good luck.
I'm going. I'm going.
So,
I don't care what anybody says. I'm going.
Well,
I'm going to get top.
You'll have to wait for another year, but that's okay. It's worth the wait.
So, but that's, each and every one of these bands we've talked about tonight have earned their way. They've earned their marks.
Yeah.
And, the 80s are coming back. So we're starting to hear a lot of these songs on the radio again.
Yeah, there's some up and coming bands that are starting to get that 80s vibe going again.
Right. So, I'm kind of excited.
So, everybody, check out our future shows. We'll have more different ideas, different compilations, different top 5s, top 10s, you name it. If you guys have ideas, please send them our way through text, through Facebook, through Instagram, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
let us know.
We have Facebook at Headbangers Ball, Instagram. Oh yeah, Headbangers Vault, not Ball. Headbangers Vault. So we got Headbangers Vault at Facebook, Headbangers Vault, Twitter, Headbangers Vault, Instagram. So be sure to go check those out. Check us out on Facebook. Come in and say hi to us. Be sure to like, follow, and share.
Definitely. We got more surprises in the future, guest stars. I mean, we got different band members coming in. We may have some live performances. I mean, it's all wide out here, folks. So
one thing that is coming,
keep it interesting,
that we are eventually planning on doing is completely being a live show and having music videos.
Definitely, yeah. We're gonna this right now. We're just gonna this is live in the raw right now. We're not going to change nothing. We're just going to keep it fun. And
speaking of raw, we're not going to edit this.
We're going to keep it the same,
episode.
Folks.
So this is going to be an unedited version. So
bear with us, folks.
So we're
going to screw up.
So yeah, you're going to hear what it's like to screw up, and I think that's appropriate for our first podcast.
Definitely.
This is the second retake.
This is the second retake because we've done this whole show once before and we didn't even record it. So
it happens. Hey, bear with us. It's only our first episode. It'll get better.
So we appreciate all of you that has liked, followed, and shared so far, and we look forward to having you. And so let's call it a night and see them next week.
Thank you, folks, and God bless. And Lord willing, we'll see you next Saturday night.
Have a good one.
Listening to our show, Headbangers Vault, bringing you the best in rock and metal music and music talk with your host Nikki Lane and Mark B1 Bomb. Please like, follow, share, and check us out on our social media pages. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you'd be interested in being a part of our show or you'd like to advertise with us, please visit our webpage at headbangersvault.podbean.com or email our HR girl at pr.hpv1@gmail.com. And remember, if it's too loud, you're too old.